What we mean by the divine nature of God is the nature of God is that God is the creator and supreme being of the universe. Mm-hmm. And so if Jesus would be deity, that would make him God. Do you see what I'm saying? That would mean that Jesus would be the creator and supreme being, if that's what the Bible teaches. John chapter 1 verse 14, I'll read from the CEV. The Word, talking about Jesus, capital letter Word, became a human being and lived with us.
Put that scripture in the King James Bible, in the old King James version. But continue.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. But I just want
It's not that scripture. It's not the same.
I'm
just saying it's not the same. You're saying it's the same. This scripture.
Yeah, but
with the original,
wording is not the same, but the meaning is the same.
No, it's not.
Oh, so what do you think it means?
No, when
just put it up, brother.
I'm just making notes. You can continue. I don't want to interrupt you all the time.
Yeah, because now you're interrupting me all the time, and so I cannot even I cannot even point out a scripture.
No, sorry, just continue.
Every time I point out a scripture, I have to know.
No, it's okay.
It has to be a little debate or argument on that.
No debate.
No, it's just the love for the word, my brother. Don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Let's just. Okay, let me go to that scripture just to sort of see what you're saying.
As long as they're making notes, otherwise you're gonna go back now.
Okay, then just tell them to make notes, and then you just sort of do that when they're done. Because every time you point that out, I'm somebody that I have to get to the truth. I cannot skip anything.
Okay.
So just because you mentioned that verse, now I have to go to that verse.
No, we'll get there.
I have to. Okay.
Okay, just go to it, brother.
Yeah, let me just finish that so we can get that verse, and then we can move on, and then I can just finish up. Do you see what I'm saying?
King James.
The Gospel of John, chapter 1, we're looking at verse 14. There it is. And the Word was made flesh. That means he became a human and dwelt amongst us. That means he was on earth in the first century. And we saw, in other words, we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father. He comes from God. He's the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So he was filled with God's grace and God's truth. So let's see if that's not the same thing. I think it means the same thing here. John 1:14 in the CEV says, the Word became a human and lived with us. We saw his glory, his true glory. In other words, he was not a mere man. The glory of the only Son of the Father, begotten of God, the Father. From him, all the kindness and all the truth of God came down to us because he was full of it. All of God's kindness was shown by Jesus. Everything that's true about God, Jesus revealed it. That's what I would understand that scripture says. Then it comes to the fact that he's the image of the invisible God in that sense. He's the representation of who God is that we cannot see. Colossians chapter 1 and verse 15 in the New King James says that he is the firstborn over all creation. And many people will jump to conclusions. Yeah, there it is. You see, he was born first, so he was definitely created first. But I don't think that's the context here. When we actually study this term being used by the Jews in the Bible, it would mean, in two senses. One sense is that, you are firstborn, you are born first from your mother's womb, right? In the literal sense. But then they also be used as a figure of speech to basically say it's a place of honor, someone's preeminence, as firstborn, supreme in other words. So let's see an example of this word being used in the Old Testament regarding King David. King David was a mere man, and in fact he was the lastborn. He was not even the firstborn. But look at what God says about him in Psalms chapter 89 and verse 27 in the New King James. Also I will make him, talking about David, my firstborn, the highest of the kings of the earth. He's talking about David's kingdom is going to be unlike all other kings that will ever come before him and after him. Jesus in the New Testament, we then see, is referred to as Son of David, have mercy on me. So God is basically placing him in the highest position, right, above all else. So that's how the word could also be used in the context. And so that's what I believe Colossians 1:15 is saying about Jesus. And so when we read that same passage from the NLT Bible, it's to say that he existed before anything was created, and is supreme, therefore, over all creation. That's what Paul means when he says Christ is the firstborn over all creation. He's not saying he was created first or he was born first. No. He's saying he's above creation, all creation, because he existed before creation. Why? Because the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, because he existed before us.